Hey, it's Rick here for Pajama Crafter Stamps today, and we're going to make a super cute Christmas card or winter card using the sliding by stamp and die set. I've already pre-stamped my images using some archival ink. These are the other inks I'm using. I'm going to take my little distress ink here, the darkest little bluish gray color, and scrub it off onto some paper and let that dry. So I set that off to the side, and I'm coming in with some water-based markers, and I'm going to do some watercoloring with our markers. So to do this, you're going to come in and put it where you want it. The darkest, like I've taught y'all before on just plain watercolors, I always put mine where I want it to be the darkest, and then I take a thirsty brush, which is what I'm doing right now, putting that in water, patting it dry, or soaking off the excess water and pulling that color out. That is a thirsty brush. We just take and dip it in your water, pat it on your paper towel, and get most of the water out. That's a thirsty brush. So we're going to go ahead and pull out that color until we want it to be our lightest area. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this. I've done two different colored greens on my trees. This is the second shade of green in my water-based markers. I will list all of the Pajama Crafter Stamps products in the description with links, and I'll list everything else below as well without links. Alright, so we're going to our second little second color of green and pull that out. I am going to come in and add just a little bit brighter green to this to kind of brighten it up just a tad after we get that all nice and smooth. So we're going to come in with that same green we used the first time. I'm just going to pop in a little bit. That's one reason I like this markers that I'm using, because you can come in while it's still wet and it doesn't go crazy, as some water markers will just go crazy. So we're just changing that color up just a little bit. I'm going to add just a little bit more shadow right there behind that other tree. And then we're going to move on to our next little tree and color it. I keep fiddling with this one for a little bit. I have to fiddle. I don't know why. All right. I'm coming in with my lighter green first, and I'm adding that where I want the color to be the darkest. And then I'm going to come in with my darker green right over top some of that. And that way it's going to blend together when I pull them out, and will create a different shade of green. And because of the way I layered them, it's going to be different than a green that we used before, or that we just did a while ago on the other one. All right, so we're going to add a little bit more color in there and pull that out, blend it together. And then I'm going to come in with a light blue color and do my snow. Snow does have color. It's reflections of what is in the sky, or what's around it. So it can have greens, it could have blues, it could have all kinds of different color in it. All right, I'm going to come in with a brown marker, and I'm going to color up my tree trunks. And I'll just blend those out. Again, let's just put it where I want it to be the darkest. And then I will pull that out to make it to the lightest. Add a little bit more color in a couple of those. And I probably, thinking about this, I probably should have used a little bit larger of a brush that held more water, but I didn't. All right, we're going to come in and color up our little penguin's earmuffs. And I chose two different colors of red for that. One's a cooler red, one is a warmer red. And when you mix them together, you get a nice, pretty shade of red. So I've done that to his little earmuffs, and I'm going to do that same thing to the stripes on his scarf. So I'm just going to come in and add those two shades, and I did goof up when I come with the second color right here. I went on the wrong side of the scarf, and I just fixed it by ignoring it and adding it to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and blend that out with my thirsty brush. And sometimes you just got to ignore things, y'all. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we are going to pull that color out, and then I'm going to come in and add in a different shade of green. I'm going to introduce a third shade of green today. This is more of an olive color, and I'm just going to put it where I want it to be darker, and then I'm going to blend that out. And this is a very transparent marker, so I'm going to show you a little trick if y'all have problems. If you will take and scribble off onto your glass mat your color, you can pick it up that way too, or on a palette or anything like that, just like I did right there. And I picked up more color, and I can come back in and have a more concentrated color. Then sometimes with some of the markers, that's how you got to do it to get a better coverage. But you could paint a whole scene that way also. So we're going to add our green in up the top. I'm going to blend it together with just a little bit of that lighter green. I chose this nice pretty orange shade for his beak. I'm going to do the same thing for his beak and his feet and pick up a little color after I apply the first layer and blend it out. I like to pick up that second layer off of my glass mat, or I could normally probably use like a acrylic block, or I actually have a plastic palette also that I use. Then we're going to go ahead and color in our little penguin with our little black marker here, and we're going to just blend that out where we want it to be lighter. I will pick up some more color off to the side and blend those together a little bit better. Black seems to be one of the harder ones that the ink doesn't want to spread as well on the Canson watercolor paper. Now these work totally different on Bristol. They smooth a lot better. But I had already stamped these in my Canson XL watercolor paper, and I knew that they would blend. It just takes a little bit more effort. So I'm going to go ahead and blend those tones together right there, so I have a nice seamless transition between those colors. And I'm going to pick up a little bit more and add just a little bit more to the dark. I'm going to pick up and finish off his little wing up on the other side, and we'll blend that out to a lighter shade of gray. All right, we're going to go ahead and blend those, get one out of our second coat, and I'm going to add just a little bit of blue to the white of his body. It's the same blue that I used in the background of my trees. So I'm just going to give him a little shadow of blue on his tummy and on his little left side of his face and blend that out. And then I'm going to take and add in this a little color to his skates. I forgot that earlier. I'm going to take the coordinating dies and I'm going to cut both of these out as I line those up, and I use some low-tack tape to hold them into place. And I will take and run those through my die cutting machine. Now I'm going to take and add a little bit more color to my embossed cardstock. I'm going to take those same color inks that I used before, those the speckled egg and the ice spruce, and I'm just going to add a little bit of color to my embossed cardstock. And I find this is easier to do with a flat foam blender than a blending brush. Blending brushes will sink down into your cardstock and get everything blended. I just wanted to glaze a little color across the top of the embossed area. That's why I chose the foam flat foam blender instead of a dome blender or a blending brush. Normally, y'all know I'm all about my blending brushes, but we needed just to glaze some color across the top because I still wanted that inside to look white and just have that little bit of color on the embossed areas. So that's why we're doing it the way we're doing it. So we're just going to go ahead and add that second color in the middle, and I'm going to go ahead and blend a little bit of those colors across my little circle here. I've just cut those out of a circle and scallop circle in my stash. So I will take and add that lighter color first and then blend in the darker. I'm going to take a little bit of my Toffee Crunch and add to the bottom. And then I'm going to put those together, flip them over, and I'm going to add foam adhesive on the back. Just little foam squares, and I'm using those to secure the ring into place over with my circle. And I'm going to go ahead and lay out this to make sure that's the way I want it onto my card. We're going to go ahead and attach down our pine trees in the background. And you notice I have a diagonal going on right now. I'm going to peel off all these backings, and I will take and add a little bit of liquid glue to the back of these so that, well, after I grab my pokey tool to get the rest of those backings off. Those backings are a pain. So I'm going to go ahead and get all those off, add a little bit of liquid glue to the adhesive. That way I have a little bit more time to move everything around where I want it and get it into place exactly where I want it to be. So there's that. I'm going to take and add a couple of my foam dimension behind my little penguin at the bottom, and I'm going to add just liquid glue at the top and just slide him into place. That way he's secured no matter what, because the part where he's touching the circle is glued down, and then he's equally the same distance with the foam dimension. Now back to our sentiment. We're going to take and prep that with our rabbit hole design powder tool. And I'm going to stamp that in some embossing ink. And then I'm going to take some white embossing powder and cover that. I'm going to do it twice. I like to do it twice. And then I'll heat set that until it's smooth and melted. And then I will take and trim that down. Well, I'm going to attach my card front to my card base. I chose an A2 top voting card base for my card today. So I'm just going to pinch those into place on the corner. And we will make sure that's nice and secure. So now I'm going to cut down my sentiment. So we're just going to cut that lengthwise and widthwise. I'm going to add a little fishtail banner to one side. Make sure it's nice and even. And then I'm just going to take my Barely Art Glue and add that to behind the sentiment and pop that onto our little circle. Now we're going to finish this off by adding a few fairy dust rhinestones. I chose to put 3 at the top left and 2 in the bottom right corner of next to my sentiment. And y'all all know I love me some fairy dust rhinestones. I think they're pretty. Has a beautiful iridescent quality. I'm taking a black Jelly Roll pen and adding to the eyes to make those pop out. And I'm going to add some white gel pen highlights across our little penguin and across our tree so that we have a nice highlighted scene. Because you know we all about some highlights. All right, we're going to just add those. And here is a look at my card. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys. Love you.